The exhaust on Cream Puff is a little messed up, and a new one showed up today. I'm just so excited about it, I didn't even wait to get out my good camera. I'm just using my cell phone to look at this. Straight from JDM land from Fujitsubo and tec-arts.
Shout out to Bell Garage for getting this set up for me. Woohoo! Hope we got some cool stickers in here. I see some gaskets and hardware. We're just gonna set that up there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fujitsubo.
Ba-dum-bum. Oh, so cool.
The exhaust that's on Cream Puff is a good exhaust in the sense that it's a 2.5-inch diameter, which is the right kind of diameter you want for a beams. It's got a large enough diameter to get the right kind of exhaust flow. But the problem I had is that, well, it was hitting on the rear axle, and this happened with the original axle that was in the car that came out of, which was an SR5, and it was also hitting with the Celica Super End in Cream Puff. So because it didn't fit, I just had to go buy a new exhaust, which gave me the opportunity to buy the exhaust that I really want. For as long as I've been into cars, which is 15-ish years now, I've always loved the sound of Fujitsubo mufflers and Fujitsubo exhausts. And this is going back to like when I was building and working on Subarus. They have such a smooth sound. So this gave me the excuse to buy a Fujitsubo exhaust for Cream Puff. Not only does it have the right sound I want, but it's also co-developed with tec-arts, a legendary AE86 tuning company. If you don't know who they are, you should definitely take a look. They have built some incredible N2 AE86 and all kinds of other cars over the years, and I think they currently build and maintain Keiichi Tsuchiya's cars. And they had a big hand in the N2 cars back in the day, so they've been around for decades and they do some incredible work. So this got me really excited that I was going to have something from tec-arts on my car. The tec-arts Fujitsubo exhaust is a 60mm inside diameter, so slightly smaller than the 2.5-inch that most people run with the beams. However, when I was doing some internet research, I found that 60mm is the same size of exhaust that most Japanese performance exhaust systems for the Altezza are, which is, that's what the beams comes out of. And this is a shorter chassis, shorter exhaust, so, a little bit less there. I will say that it does neck down slightly smaller at the resonator, the muffler, according to tec-arts website. However, I don't think it's enough to cause much of an issue because right at these, the resonator and the muffler, there's expanded chambers for exhaust to flow, and I don't think it's going to hinder performance, but I guess we'll see when we get it on the dyno. I've already removed the old exhaust, so let's go ahead and get started on installing the new one.
AE86 exhausts use these like donut hangers for to hold the exhaust of the car, which is kind of an old school design, obviously, but it's not the best, but we're gonna go ahead and use them. And they hang from, well, these guys, if I can, okay, like that. We've got one, there's another spot here, two, and then a third spot right there, three. So I ripped off all the mounts for the custom exhaust. That was obviously making contact with the body and the axle, and now we can hang the Fujitsubo exhaust and figure out what we have to make to go from the Fujitsubo to the header mid pipe up there.
I didn't film installing the resonator pipe because, well, that just bolts up pretty easy and pretty simple. As far as the order in which to put the hangers on, I put the one on, the furthest back hanger. I put the outside one on first, and then I stretched, the outside of the car, that one, and then I put one in the next one, the middle one, which is right before the rear axle, right? I say before, right after your axle, from the back of the car forward, it's right before the axle. If you're looking at the front of the car back, it's after the axle. Anyway, so put one on each of those, and then I worked on getting the other two on and got the muffler mounted, and then the mid pipe, I hung those, hung it on those two hangers first, and then I bolted it up.
Here's the rearmost one, and you can see it's got this extra metal ring here, this tube that's there so it can be held right up against that rubber block. So all of them are like that. This one, that guy, and that guy.
Next is going to be adapting or making an adapter pipe to go from what I already have, which has the manifold down to a 2.5-inch V-band, to the 60mm flange at the Fujitsubo exhaust. So what I did was I took the original pipe that I had with the old exhaust, and I chopped it down, and then I marked it so we can do some fine trimming to be able to trim it down and then weld on the piece that we need to adapt it.
With that bit trimmed and hooked up here, I've got it pretty much set. So now I'm going to get the welder, I'm going to tack it right here, hold it tight, and then after tacking in place, we'll drop it down and weld it all the way. All done. Ideally, that should have been welded with a TIG welder, but my TIG welder is out of gas. So it's just gonna be MIG weld for now. I may redo this pipe later, but really the big thing was I just wanted to make sure I had an adapter piece in to go from the beams manifold, mid pipe, whatever, to the Fujitsubo tec-arts exhaust, and this should do the trick. This pipe here is 2.5 inch, and that is 2.3 inch, or whatever, 60mm that flange is. So that little chunk right there, that's actually a reducer that goes from 2.5 down to 2.25 inch, and I had to chop it down and fit it in there just perfect for the 60mm, which is just fine, and now it's all welded and it shouldn't leak, hopefully.
Now that all in the car, let's fire it up and see what it sounds like. I did get a clip of the old exhaust, so you can kind of hear what that was like with the MagnaFlow, and then we'll compare the Fujitsubo. Let's go to the MagnaFlow first. I don't really like the sound of that exhaust at the higher RPMs or at load. It's just kind of like a raspy, rattly kind of a sound, and I don't really care for it much. Let's go ahead and listen to the Fujitsubo now.
Oh, it sounds so good and so proper.
One of the things that I love so much about this exhaust is that it's a more balanced sound. It's not terribly overwhelming inside of the car. I can still hear just enough of the exhaust, see, like, that I can hear the engine. And it's a good sound. It's balanced between the intake and the exhaust. I can hear the ITBs making those beautiful trumpet sounds. I can hear that kind of a wonderful, beautiful intake sound that is so traditional of the AE86 that you get with the 4AG, right? And although this isn't a 4AG, it still sounds like it. It still has that throaty ITB sound that was honestly drowned out with the old exhaust. And when you get on it, it still sounds so good. It's got that nice, rumbly, throaty sound, but it's not overwhelming. It just has that, just the right amount of aggression that the other one was just too obnoxious. The only problem I have now with this is that, well, I can now hear every creak and rattle from inside of the car, every little vibration and NVH noise that was kind of hidden by the previous exhaust because it was, well, so loud. Now this is officially the last video with Cream Puff before tuning because I have a dyno day scheduled and it's happening before 8.6 day. So as long as everything goes well on the dyno, fingers crossed, I will be able to drive this car on 8.6 day, which will be the first time for me in years being able to street drive an 8.6 to go celebrate 8.6 day with other 8.6 enthusiasts. So please, if you enjoy this stuff about Cream Puff, you enjoy my content, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that stuff, because soon, very soon, Cream Puff will be on street duty, and I want to drive this car everywhere. Thanks for watching, and see you next time after the dyno.